So I'm keeping this very loose. We are going to walk you through a tour of Israel. We can do this one of two ways, and I'm wide open to how we do this. We could do that first, which I kind of lean toward. Go ahead and walk through that, and then at the end, any questions you have for Roni or for me, although you always ask me questions, so maybe not. Anything you'd like to know, we can kind of open it up for a little Q&A and do it like that. It was interesting because Roni is now working with Coral Tours, and we've shifted over. We've done different tour companies over the years, but when Roni shifted, I said, we're shifting. So we're with Coral Tours, and they're out of New Jersey, and Roni is connected with them and working with them, and he and his wife have been in New Jersey since April 16th, involved in working there, and we're able to catch flights over here just for the weekend. I think you go back on Tuesday?
2 weeks. I'm going to stay 2 more weeks.
So you're going to be 2 more weeks in the U.S., and Eric's going back.
That's right.
Before, okay. So anyway, we are just blessed to have Roni here. So why don't we welcome Roni and Arit, just let them know that we appreciate them being here. Not you. Okay, so.
What?
Oh, he's not on. He wants you to be on.
1, 2. Okay.
Okay, now if you, especially if you're far back and these tiny screens, we got to replace these screens. John, I think it's time to get bigger screens. Anyway, if they're kind of far away from you, feel free just to slip up front. There are still a few seats right here close. You can sit right, whatever you want to do. So, but I want you to be able to see this, and we are going to walk you through a tour. Now, I do want to say this. Some might get the idea that, well, we walk through this tour. I've been there. I don't need to go. This is nothing like actually being there. Not even close. But it'll give you a sense of what these Bridge to Israel tours are about and why we keep doing them. And why, I said this morning, why it's so important to me to keep taking people to Israel. So we want to give you a taste of that. And do you have anything you want to say before we start doing this? No? Okay. Roni's not talking tonight.
No. Excuse me, the presentation is more or less of what we want to do on the tour. But you know, Israel is changing, and every time there's a new site, we right away we turn the itinerary. We never take anything off. We always leave, and we keep on adding, and eventually. There's a limit, you know, because they open the sites at 8 and they close them at 4. So somehow we have to get within those 8 hours. But it's a superb tour because you come out of the tour and you have a feeling that you're feeling that two feelings. You're getting upset that you waited that long. And secondly, you have a feeling that it's not completed. You didn't know what to do first. To listen to the teaching, listen to the guide, take a picture, write notes. I mean, it's really a lot. And you go home, and I wanted to know when the tour comes to an end, you know more about Israel than average Israeli. I mean, that's how much we see, and we don't have any shortcuts. We really walk to the sites. It's not a hard tour. But it's really a tour that at the end of the day, you feel that, man, my head is about to explode. I heard so much from Pastor Rick and from Roni. But on the end of the day, I said, man, I can't wait for tomorrow because I really want to see how things tomorrow are going to be. So that's how things are.
Yep.
And I might sneeze once or twice because for the first time in my life, I have what you call allergies.
Welcome to the Northwest.
Well, yeah, I had no idea that. I'm sitting in I said, where am I? Yeah, go ahead. Thank you for the tissue.
We have that.
Whole thing
Yeah.
with me too. No,
You want to turn that off when you sneeze, just
no, I don't. I want him to be part of the. Yeah.
part of the experience.
It's both of us. We don't know how to. Yeah. It was so funny. Someone asked me, "Are you married?" I said, "Of course." I said, "So, where's your ring?" And I said, "Oh, in Israel we don't wear it here. We wear it here." But no, just kidding. Anyway, so So I just had to say a few words.
We better start this
Yeah, go ahead.
slideshow.
Well, it's getting lower and lower.
Yeah. Okay, so, if you can see it.
I can see it now.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and start, and John, just click a slide, and we'll walk you through a tour. Ready up top? Go. Yeah, right.
We have to get you somehow to.
Yeah, how do you get there? And it's not going to be United. I think this next tour we're looking at
Lufthansa.
Lufthansa. Yeah.
Lufthansa has a better connection than United. I mean, you get to Frankfurt and then right away to Tel Aviv, and it's a nice one. And over there's a map of Israel that shows you where exactly you're going to land. This is Tel Aviv, Jaffa. Yeah.
Okay, John. Here we go.
So I like Jaffa. It's an old city, very, very romantic, very beautiful. And for me, I know people come to Israel, they say, wait a second, are we safe? Can we walk around? Are we going to be, are people shooting here? And Jaffa is the relaxing pill. You know, I walk with the people through Jaffa. It's beautiful. It's a 4,000 years old city. It has layers of history. It has connected all the way to the Israelites when they left Egypt. I mean, it's a city that I really love to walk through. Jaffa used to be a terrible city. I mean, in 1948, during the Independence War, it turned to be like the headquarters of the Arabs against Tel Aviv. And eventually, at the end of the war, it was completely ruined, destroyed, and falling apart. And for many, many years, Jaffa used to be the crime center of the whole region. I mean, drugs and prostitution, and you name it, was in Jaffa. I remember when I was a little boy, my mother always said, don't you even think. I was born about 1.6 miles from Jaffa. That's where I was born. I was not allowed to go to Jaffa. It was completely forbidden. My mother even said, if you ever go to Jaffa, you're going to be grounded until you're 80. Jaffa was off limit. But in the 70s, they said, wow, what a beautiful area. The buildings are 1,000 years old. So they decided to restore them. And they bought all those, pumps, with steam and so on, and they restored the buildings. And because nobody wanted to go to Jaffa because it was connected as a crime center, you know who came? The artists. And it became to be an artist colony, and we walked through there. And that's when we have the first teaching that you teach about Jonah, and it's amazing.
And what's amazing is the next slide, I think. Yeah, there it is. There's the house of Simon the Tanner. At least that's what is painted above the door. Yeah. That's so funny. House of Simon the Tanner. And I think he used marker to write it. But Jaffa is where that happened. It's so amazing. In Israel, not only do we know the story of Simon the Tanner and Peter, resting on the roof, and then he has the vision from the Lord, but this is where Jonah went and caught a ship to flee the opposite direction of God. And what's amazing about being in Israel is you start to realize, wait a minute, things that are separated by thousands of years all happen in the same place. Same exact location. And the interplay between the Older Testament and the New Testament is remarkable, because you realize the same places that the patriarchs were walking and doing their thing is the place where Jesus and the apostles were walking and doing their thing. So that's one of the things that impresses me. And whether or not that's Simon the Tanner's house, that's something else you learn when you go on a tour to Israel, is you recognize everybody there wants you to think that it is the place that something happened. But Roni's very good about this, and we try very hard to seek out the places where we know what happened here. We know sometimes within a mile or within a few feet, or, well, we'll see in just a moment, exactly the location. So that's what we search for on our tours. We don't do a lot of churches. We'll go to some because they're beautiful, but we primarily look for the architecture, the archaeological sites and the historical sites, and try to find our way, even if it means walking through a banana field down the side of a hill. We're going to find the way. So those of you who were there on that tour, whew.
These are from the days that I don't remember anymore. In very short words, for years, people wanted to go down around the Sea of Galilee. There's a beautiful path going down from the Church of Mount of Beatitudes to the St. Peter Primacy, to the shore. And I didn't go there for a few years. In the meantime, Cheryl came and said, "Why didn't we go there?" I said, "Sure, I'd love to." No, I'm not sure. No. Anyway, so we decided, I said, okay, but I didn't realize that 5 years went by. In the meantime, someone decided to plant a banana orchard down there, and right in the middle, and the path disappeared. And I kept on trying to, find out, and I lost the path. And people came with flip-flops and shorts and all the thorns, and it was really an amazing experience. Yeah.
If we had had machetes, it would have helped, but we were trying to find a way. And where's Cyprus? I saw him here. There you are. And Cyprus, who does this for a living, I mean, he knows how to trek. And so he's out there finding ways through the banana fields, and it's thick and muddy. And you know what? Not everybody, but most of the people who experience that going down, to this day they go, that was one of the greatest experiences on the tour.
Sure. Always, the disaster during the tour is an amazing experience after. That's a rule number one.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And I always tell them we planned it that way. So let's go to the next. So this is an interesting. You want to?
Yes. I didn't, usually, every Israeli guide has a little laser, that we control everything, that we can point out things. But on the top, Jaffa is a tell. It's a hill that is built from many, many layers. The city was destroyed, and then they made it nice and flat and built another city, and then they destroyed again. And because Jaffa was a port city, it was attacked many times, and it was sitting along a highway that used to go all the way from Egypt to Mesopotamia, what you call the highway number 1 along the shore, the Via Maris, the way of the sea. And it was destroyed about 16 or 17 times. So each time it was built on top of each other. Eventually it has a shape of a hill, man-made hill. And we decided to put on the top of the hill a beautiful sculpture. I'm just going to say in a few words that are talking about, we call it faith. Faith, because it had 3 events from the Bible that it doesn't make any sense. But I cannot come to the Bible and say, well, this one I like, this one I don't like, this one doesn't make sense, I'm not going to read it anymore. I mean, we take the Bible as a whole, okay? And the 3 events that I'm mentioning over there is, one of them is Jacob dreamed. What do you mean you saw an angel going up and down the ladder? And the second one is going to be Abraham, when he was asked to take Isaac, said, go to the place which I'm going to show, and he was walking for 3.5 days all the way from Beersheba to Jerusalem. And when he was willing or accepting the fact that he has to sacrifice his son, by the way, he wasn't 2 years old, he was in his 20s. And so we know the story, and then over there you can see the ram that was sacrificed instead of Abraham. And then the top one, I don't know if you can see it, but you can see a bunch of people walking with sort of a shofar, like a trumpet. And these are the people that are walking around Jericho. Remember, they walked around Jericho for 6 days, and the 7th day they walked again. That's when I asked the people, how many times they walked around Jericho? And that's a tricky question, because everybody thinks they went 7 times. No, they went 13, because they went 6 times and then 7 more times on the last day. But it's a beautiful sculpture, and you really need faith in your heart to accept the story as a biblical story, something that was something like a decoration for the Bible. Very powerful sculpture, and I really like to stand there, and this is where usually we end the walkthrough. Yeah, keep on.
Now, I'm thinking if we do every day of the tour like we just did Jaffa, we're going to be here for 13 nights. So we'll try to move it along.
So why don't we go back? I'll talk while you move, because I know what comes up next. You can keep on going. Yeah, well, this is Tel Aviv. I was born and raised in Tel Aviv. I like Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv is an amazing city, very lively, very, very happy city. If you keep on going, you're going to see Tel Aviv is known because of this kind of building. They call it the White City. It's a style that was brought to Israel, the little round thing, from Germany. They call it Bauhaus. It was very, very common in Europe, but all the Bauhaus buildings in Europe were destroyed by the Allies in the 1940s during the Second World War. The only place in the world which you have Bauhaus buildings is going to be in Tel Aviv. So they got a special award from UNESCO or whatever. And this is the building which usually if we drive by, if I walk by, I talk about it, but this is not the main thing. So we can go on. Tel Aviv, this is sunset in Tel Aviv on the water. Tel Aviv is very lively. Average age of Israelis in Tel Aviv is 31. And the young generation, I was raised in Tel Aviv, and when I got married, we moved to the suburbs, and then Tel Aviv turned to be a very old city, and then, the young people left. And when my parents' generation passed away, and it was, Tel Aviv was old city, you saw people walking with walkers, and you couldn't, or wheelchairs, it was really sad. And then young people came back to Tel Aviv. So Tel Aviv is very lively. It's like Manhattan, but very safe. Safety from nighttime and so on. Okay, so that's it. We're going to keep on going. One more. We're going to go to Caesarea. One more. Caesarea is, this is Caesarea. Pastor.
Yeah, so this amphitheater, this is where we begin our first day. We leave the hotel, kind of early because everybody's wide awake anyway. And we head to Caesarea Maritima, not Caesarea Philippi, that's later in the tour, but Caesarea Maritima. And this is the location we go into this amphitheater where Paul stood before King Agrippa and in chains and made his defense of the gospel. And it's remarkable. And so what we do on the tours, and I'm not going to do it right now, but what we will do is we'll sit down in the amphitheater, everybody have a seat, open up your Bibles. We ask everybody to always have a water bottle, have your Bible, and have a little notebook to jot down some notes. Because everywhere we go, we're going to pause. And I don't teach like I do here. It's not going to be an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes, but 15, 20 minutes in a location. And we'll spend a few minutes now, and I will just teach through what happened with Paul right there. Several of you have been on more than one tour with me, and there's always something different. For those of you returning, just so you know, no two tour teachings are exactly alike. There's always a different emphasis. Something else is going on, and the Lord is saying something. So. But I'll teach from that text, and we'll spend 15, 20 minutes in the Bible right there. The cool breeze off the sea comes right into the amphitheater. It's very comfortable. It's just a nice rest. And I'll teach, and then we'll get up, head right down the steps, and we start to follow the path.
Go ahead, keep on going. Let's keep on going.
And Roni then will lead us around. And I love working with Roni because he will bring all the history, he'll bring the archaeology, there are times where I'm not even sure of something. I'll say, no, did this happen here? And he's going to know. There we go.
You can lower my voice. I don't need my voice in the background. I want to say one thing about Caesarea. Caesarea is a great place to start as a starter for the tour. That's where we start the day. It's historical, it's archaeological, and it's biblical. And for us, archaeological, you can see a lot of finding of the theater. You can see the theater that was built there by King Herod and restored later on by us in the 1950s and 60s. It's biblical, mentioned in the Bible. Paul, and I can talk about Philip, and I can talk about everything that happened in Caesarea. And it's a lot of historical evidence coming from Caesarea. Caesarea was the capital of the non-Jews in the country. The country, Judea, was conquered by the Romans, and they ruled there for 700 years. And it was the capital of the Romans. For the Jews, Jerusalem was the capital, and Caesarea was a port city. And they really put a lot of effort in order to turn it into a beautiful city. Herod built it from scratch. He really wanted to dedicate the city to Caesar Augustus, and he built a city. And you walk through the city, you can't believe your eyes. What he built over there, because Herod was never a Caesar. He was a vassal, he was a slave of the king. His job was to collect taxes and take 5%, then bring everything to the Romans. And he built over there the most amazing city in Judea, and that's what we're going to walk through. And this city is going to be a Roman pagan city until 325. You can see there are many capital stones over there, that like in Corinthian and so on. And one stone is very, very unusual. Can you go back? I see that you took the clips and you turned it. This one I really love to show how the country turned from paganism into Christianity. And many times when people ask me, what do you like to do when you go to, let's say, I'm going to a conference of Calvary Chapel in 3 weeks. And I know exactly what I'm going to emphasize on, how the country became to be Christian and how we find so many archaeological findings that are really giving us an understanding how the process was done. And over here you can see that suddenly all the Corinthian and all the Ionic, capital stone disappeared, and suddenly we have a cross, because in 325 Constantine decided that he's going to accept Christianity, and with the influence of his mother Helena, and he declared Christianity as a permitted religion. Christianity was not allowed in the Roman Empire because usually, let's say Augustus was God, okay, and he declared himself as God and the Son of God. And here come the Jews and say, no, there's another Son of God. His name is Yeshua. So they're walking in a very parallel way that the Romans are trying really to give hard time to the small Christian community that is growing up very fast in the Roman Empire. And in 325, one day Helena woke up her son and said, hey, Constantine, you better wake up and smell the coffee. 80% of your people are Christians. And with the influence of his mother, he converted into Christianity. And he declared, you cannot become a Christian Caesar and the religion is not permitted. So he declared the Christian religion as permitted religion, not state religion. It was done by Theodosius a few years later. Mm-hmm. But as soon as he said this is going to be a Christian nation, right away all the Christians that had to hide came out and said, we are proud to be Christian. We are not afraid to show that we are Christian. And Constantine had a little issue, said, okay, very nice, but what kind of symbol we're going to have? We're not going to take the Jewish star, okay, or the Jewish menorah. There was no star at that time. And he said, I like the Egyptian symbol, which is the symbol of eternity. It was like a little cross with a little arch above it, a cross and a little arch. So he got rid of the arch and he left the cross and he said, our faith is eternal, like the Egyptian, and this is going to be our symbol. And suddenly, this is going to be a Christian symbol, replacing the fish that used to be before. And every structure in Caesarea from that time had a little symbol of Christianity to show you we are a Christian city. And this is a great way to explain how Caesarea became to be a super Christian city compared to other cities in the country. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. You can go ahead.
One more, John.
One more. Hippodrome.
So some of these will move past and you'll say, what's that? Doesn't matter. You're going to see it on the tour.
Yeah. Okay, this is one thing that I really like. Go ahead. You want to say something?
No, go ahead.
Herod is a super king, but he is the one, we call him Herod the Great. He wasn't such a great, loving, sweet man, just to make a point, okay? He was completely lunatic. He had fears from everything. He killed all his family. He killed his sons. He killed his wife. He killed everybody. But one thing you can't take away, he was a great builder. And he was building more than any other Caesar in Rome. And in a certain time, for 34 years, he built and he built, and he built the whole city from scratch. And the question is, okay, with all due respect, Herod, you're building a building. Where's the money coming from? Okay, taxes. This is the poor nation. What, another bag of wheat? This is not going to make you wealthy. And Herod had to think, what can I do in order to make myself wealthy? And this is what he came up with. You see the port? He built the port. And he built it in a way that nobody could believe that you can build a port. Usually you need a bay. He said, I don't need a bay. Who needs a bay? And he took rafts. He put on those rafts like volcanic ash, like a powder, and when that raft was filled with volcanic ash, he sunk it in the water. He put a heavy stone, so it started to sink. And the second that volcanic ash touched the water, it turned to be like concrete. And suddenly a concrete block came on the bottom, and then he put another raft, and it came down, and he had blocks of concrete. On that, he built his port. And it was a huge port. It was the biggest port in the world, but empty. So he went to the boat owners in Rome and said, hey, I know how much you guys pay to park your boats in Rome. Why don't you come and park your boats with me in Caesarea? And you can do it for free. Come for Bono and enjoy the facilities in the winter. And in the winter, when they park the boats over there, this is what they use to put the concrete, to put the powder. And the boats were parked over there. And in the winter time, he found out that he had 250 boats ready to send to Rome. And then he was able to maneuver all the ancient trade that used to go to Cleopatra, to Alexandria, and he shifted it to Caesarea. And all the international trade 2,000 years ago of the whole Roman Empire went through his port in Caesarea. And this is the port that's how it looked like 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
So I love it when we stand over there because this gives me a chance to explain who is Herod. We love to hate him. I love to hate him and love him at the same time. This is a love-hate relationship here.
John, can you go back 2 slides real quickly just to that overview? That's the one. So just so you look down in the bottom, you can see the Roman amphitheater, and that's where we start the morning. And then we walk from there along. If you can see it, it's pretty tiny
Hippodrome.
for our eyes, but the Hippodrome is next. We walk up the Hippodrome, and we come to the port city and walk all the way through and then come back out the other side. And that's the first stop of the tour. And it's just the coolest morning because you might think, aren't we all exhausted from the plane flight? Not yet. Not yet. Not until we get back on the bus and then everybody, falls asleep. But it's cool. It's beautiful. You're right on the Mediterranean, and that is our very first stop. You can go forward, John.
Yeah. Herod, well, this is the water aqueduct that Herod is going to bring water to Caesarea. There were times I could walk up there. There used to be like a step, like wooden steps, but they moved it because someone fell down and they don't want anybody to fall down anymore. But these are 2 aqueducts that he combined together. If you wonder how much water you use at home, let's say in the Washington area, you use about 180 to 200 gallons per family a day. Herod brought to every family close to 400 gallons with those little 2 water aqueducts, which is amazing. So it's really unbelievable what he did. Again, I like very much to talk about him, how great he is. On the other hand, how crazy he was. So it's an interesting combination. But Caesarea, I have to say, I never met anybody who didn't come back to the bus and said, whoa, this was amazing. And it is amazing. Am I right? Yeah, let's go.
So then we go the next stop, we hop on the bus and we head to Mount Carmel, second stop of the first day. Maybe we'll do the whole first day and then we'll just zip through the rest.
Okay.
Yeah. So a day in the life of a Bridge to Israel tour. We go up to Mount Carmel and of course, Eliyahu. And that's the statue that was built to him, and that's up at the top. And there's a church up at the top that we go to. What I love about this church is from here, you go up some steps and we get up on a huge overlook where you can look down over the entire valley of Megiddo. And for me, it's one of those moments standing up there and looking over the valley of Megiddo when you realize there are things that are much smaller than you think they are in Israel. One is the size of the country. You could fit it inside New Jersey. It's about that big. But when you look at places like the Valley of Megiddo, it is so much bigger than I had ever imagined. And even now, when I go up there, I look out and I just think, wow, how vast. It's just huge. And then you go across the Jordan River and it's like a little creek.
Yeah. Can you go to the next one? Because like Megiddo. Okay.
So then from Mount Carmel, we will get back on the bus. We go to lunch there, a great shawarma place with the Druish place, and we'll explain Druishness. Yeah. But from there, we head to Megiddo on the other side.
Yeah. I just want to say one more thing about Mount Carmel. Israel is very small. I mean, it is small. I mean, and we stand on the side that we can see the whole north of Israel. I mean, you can see Israel from the Mediterranean all the way to the Jordan Valley. I mean, you can see it from one place, and then you say, this is it? This is the whole country? Yes. And suddenly the whole story of Elijah and the bear prophet makes a lot of sense because you can see exactly where he chased them to, where they were all killed. And you stand over there and say, I have a feeling that it happened 10 minutes ago, right? When you stand, I like Mount Carmel. Megiddo, on the other hand, is super important for us. Because it's a city that was rebuilt and destroyed and rebuilt and destroyed and rebuilt 26 times. And each time it went higher and higher and higher. And you really go through all the layers. For us, as far as we're concerned, it's the teaching that you have in Megiddo is powerful, and we'll talk about it in a minute. But usually when you do archaeological dig, what you do what you call a square. You take a 9 feet on 9 feet and you start to dig. You find something, okay, if you don't, you make another square. Eventually you hit something, okay, now you're happy. But if you have 26 layers, I mean, how deep can you go? I mean, there's a limit. And an American group from Chicago University came to Israel in 1921, and they had a little issue. They said, how can we dig such a hill? And they decided to do something amazing. They decided to, when you have a cake and you take the first slice out, that's exactly what they did. They did a cut, and they took the first slice out, and then they could see all the layers, and they decide where they want to dig. And we found so many things from the biblical times that are matching the biblical stories like a beautiful glove. And because many people come to me and say, Roni, you know, that's from the time of here and that. Does it make sense? Oh, yeah. A lot of things make sense, especially when it comes to biblical events that we find in archaeological digs. You know, as you said, I don't have to prove the Bible, but I love when archaeology and the Bible are walking hand by hand. And you see it in Caesarea with no, and you see it over here too. And this is, I don't see exactly, this is the entrance, one of the gates that we found. We call it the Canaanite gate. A city like that had about 600 people live there. You can't put many gates, otherwise everybody's going to watch the gates. So there's one gate, and this gate is a fortress. If you're able to penetrate through, you conquer the city. And this is the Canaanite gate. We found it. We can date today things, even if they're only stones, because we have a method of dating stones today. And we dated it to 3,500 years ago. And we found out that Egypt was ruling at that time. Where the Israelites 3,500 years from? In Egypt, building pyramids. And this is the same period. Pastor, sorry.
Yeah.
This is the cut. You see, I don't really see. Yeah, this is the cut that they did.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And Megiddo is one of the three chariot cities of Solomon. And so there is evidence there for that as well. We make our way through, and Roni gives us that archaeological background, which is so fascinating as we walk. This is now, you're probably mid-afternoon, so we've hit 2 sites and lunch, and people are starting to get a little weary, but we say, drive on! And we move all the way through we get up to the top of Megiddo. And
this is the Solomon Gate. And it's very interesting. You saw there's a gate, and then you walk about 15 feet up, and then there's another area. You walk 500 years in history. I mean, if this gate, the lower one is older one, and the newer one is newer one, and then suddenly you walk 500 years, and then you come to the time of King Solomon. I mean, at that time, in those 500 years, the Israelites left Egypt, and they walked in the desert, and Moses, and then he came to the land, and they were what he called the time of the judges, and then you have the Israelites are coming to Samuel and say, we want to have a king, and the first king is going to be anointed, it's going to be Saul, and then he died in the battle not far away from here, and David is going to become a king, and you can see all those changes while you walk around. And this is the time of King Solomon. Over here, you can see already what the American did when they dug the thing. You can see the cut very clearly. That's the cut, and that gives us a lot of information. And behind that, we are going to go. This is again a little bit of the King Solomon horses and stables, and then we come to the teaching. And I don't think there's a better place to talk about Revelation than you're standing over there and the whole valley in front of you, the valley of Armageddon. And
it's very impressive. And again, so what you get on that first day is you get a sight from up on Mount Carmel. You get a sight or a different view of the valley of Megiddo from Mount Megiddo. The Hebrew word for mount is Har Megiddo, Armageddon. And that's where we get that. And so we talk about that when we're there. I'll tell you one thing, just because many of you were here this morning, we were talking about King Josiah. And Josiah died in a battle in Megiddo at a place called Hadad Ramon. Hadad Ramon is prophesied there was much weeping, like the weeping or the mourning at Hadad Ramon. Zechariah chapter 12 talks about that. And that was where Josiah died. So all these things happen right here. I mean, when you're looking over Megiddo, you're not only looking at the death of Josiah in the past, or the stables of Solomon before that, or the Canaanite gate, or all these things that happened in the past. You're also looking at what's going to happen in the future and what will take place in the valley of Megiddo. And I'm still working, I'm still thinking through this, but I have a growing opinion about what Har Megiddo really is. And I don't think it's this. We say, well, wait, but that's Mount Megiddo. Actually, it's Tel Megiddo. And, you know, with a tour guide like Roni, you can't tell him much, but no,
why?
I'm just kidding. No, but a tel, as Roni just described to you, is layers.
No.
So these hills throughout Israel, there are many different tels, and what is discovered is those hills are actually layers of civilization, cities built on cities built on cities. So Tel Aviv, that's where the name comes from, the idea of a tel. And this is Tel Megiddo, which is city upon city upon city that's become a hill, a mount. So today it's called Mount Megiddo. And I'm not going to say anything more about that. We'll
I just want to say one word about this picture very clearly, very briefly. This is a water trough. Okay, that's what horses are drinking from. For almost 30 years, I told people, I don't want to break your heart, but all the stories of King Solomon with Megiddo, I don't think they make any sense because we didn't find anything from the same famous stables that King Solomon had. About 6 years ago, we found them. And I found out that I was talking nonsense for almost 35 years. These are the water troughs. We can date it to the time of King Solomon. He built a palace over there next to it. We didn't find many. There were many 40 horses, but the Bible doesn't give us a number. It says stables. So again, for almost 35 years I said no, we didn't find it. We found it about 6 years ago. We found the stables of King Solomon. I like to point it out while we walk to the teaching area. And there's one more thing that I have to say. If you keep on going, is it there?
Are you still awake up there, John? Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Keep on going, because I really want to go to the point that there's a silo that we found again that we love things that have a lot of little stones. Silos is where you store the grains, you know, the wheat, whatever, and then you cover it with the blanket, and then the Egyptian come and say, send us 20 convoys, and you take them out. What we really love is that we can take some little grain that got stuck between the stones and we can date them. And that gives me the exact day. You know, we don't use anymore the old carbon-14 test. It's a great way to date, but we use today more radioactive methods. If I'm going to use carbon-14 test, it's going to be plus minus 80 years. With a radioactive dating, it's plus minus 3 years. So it gives me really the time frame, and that's what helped us here, that we come to the first king of Israel, but we'll talk about it in Dan. So let's go one more, because I just want to point out. Okay, I want to say one more thing about Megiddo. Can I say very briefly? Mm-hmm. When we stand in Megiddo, I point out and I said, listen, I want you to look over there. There's a green place area with a lot of trees and some buildings, and this is a jail. Okay? And this is the jail of Megiddo. This is considered to be a very, very high protective jail because over there we have all the Hamas terrorists that we captured in Israel, you know, doing terror acts, and they were over there. And about 12 years ago, 13 years ago, they came to us and said, hey, Israelis, we would like to build a basketball court. I said, what? Why? He said, you know, we want to get into better shape, you know. I said, we don't really want you in better shape, you know, come on. and they said, no, we really, you know. So we took a good relationship with them as much as we can. We granted the permission. And Qatar, from all countries, Qatar came and they gave the money to build and gave the baskets. And they started to drill the first hole for the basket, and there was a mosaic floor. And then they drilled another one, and there was another piece. Now, in Israel, as soon as you touch it, right away you have to stop everything. You have to call archaeologists. And we found a young girl from Haifa University. She came and she said, I can't really tell what it is. I mean, we have to to dig and to find. We didn't find many volunteers. Nobody was willing to go into the jail and dig over there with all those Hamas people around. And then eventually we found a bunch of volunteers, those terrorists themselves. They were happy to go out and dig all day long. And they exposed over there a floor which is the first ever floor of a first ever church in the world. And I'll say it again. Up to 325, Christianity is not permitted. They're not allowed to get together. There are no prayer places. There are no what you call churches. There's nothing. They used to pray in little tiny rooms. And suddenly we found a church from the year 185. And how do we know it's a church? It's facing east, to accept him when the Christ is going to return. And it had a symbol of fish on the floor, which was the first version of believers' sign, that like the ichtas, I know you know. So, and we even found the names of who are the people who gave the money to build the church. There were 2 Roman soldiers, and they drove us crazy because Roman soldiers were supposed to catch those groups and ended up to the authorities, just to show how deeply Christianity penetrated into the Roman army. Why is it so important? This is the first ever church in the world from the year 185, maybe 195, but whatever, that was built by people who came. They couldn't identify Har Megiddon, as they said, the hill. So they say, you know what, it's good enough for us at the entrance to the valley. And we have the most beautiful flooring from the first ever Christian church in the world. The only problem is you cannot take people like you and bring them into the prison, right? About 3 years ago, they decided to move it to Washington. And today, it's in the Bible Museum in Washington. The whole floor is over there. They even built a special room for that. By mistake, by coincidence, we were on the last day, July 7th last year, to see the floor, which is amazing. So if you ever get to Washington, the first ever floor from the first ever church. Again, I don't have to prove the Bible, but exactly the way that we know how the history runs when people start to get together into communities, Christian communities, we see it right in front of us over there. Mm-hmm. Next. Yeah, sorry.
So we come at the end of a long day. So back just one, John. I'm sorry, thank you. We come to Mount Precipice, and this is now the third in the series of looking the overlook of Mount Megiddo. This is the edge of the city where Jesus grew up. When you read about in Luke 4 that they went nuts in the synagogue, were angry because Jesus was saying, here I am. They ran him out to the edge of the city and they wanted to push him off. We talked about this actually very recently. There's a sign right up here that says this is where Jesus leapt off the top of Nazareth. So we got to find that guy and straighten him out. But it's a beautiful place, and typically end of the day, I have to drag Cheryl out of the bus because she is wiped out. But we go up to the top, and that is one of my favorite places to pull out a little guitar and have worship and look over the Valley of Megiddo, and you start to realize all of these major locations that we have been, Elijah on Mount Carmel and Solomon's stables on Mount Megiddo, and all that happened on these different mounts that surround the Valley of Megiddo. And now you're up on Mount Precipice where Jesus grew up, and you realize he grew up a stone's throw away from the patriarchs. All of this happening in the same place. And it's really it's a beautiful view up there, looking off Mount Precipice. And
it's the only cliff, by the way.
The only cliff, yeah. And you can see it when you're looking at Nazareth from a distance. You see the way the city ends up on that cliff, and you can see Mount Precipice. Did I ever tell you, first time we came was with David Kidron.
Yes, my friend. Yeah.
And he was guiding us. And David Kidron would talk like this and say, "Bring your Bibles in your backpacks. We are not coming back." And wonderful guide. And he told us when he was up on Nazareth, he said, "Now, I was here one time, and I was a young guide, and I could not remember the name of Mount Precipice, and someone kept asking me, what is the name? What do we call this?" And he said, "I called it Mount Leapiophagus."
I remember the story.
He said everybody in the church were writing down, Mount Leapiophagus.
Yeah.
So Mount Precipice, that's basically the end of the day. From here, we will get into the bus and we head to the Sea of Galilee, and everybody sleeps all the way there. But we come to the Sea of Galilee that evening.
Yeah. By the way, we don't make up anymore. I used to make a lot, people used to ask me, but I used to make up answers. I know they'll never know, right? Who knows? But in the last 10 years, I have a little enemy, Google. Google is my enemy. People ask me questions right away. I want to make sure that they give that AI is killing me. I have to be very accurate, so I don't make up anymore like David Kidron used to, but we don't. By the way, I put this picture just in case. This is the synagogue in Nazareth. And Nazareth was a little, it says in the Bible, a city in Galilee. It was a little tiny workup camp. Maybe 60 to 80 families live in Nazareth. Mainly professional people that came from the center of the country to participate in the building project of Herod and later on Herod Antipas. But we found a synagogue in Nazareth where he was reading from Isaiah 61. And that's where he really upset the people of Nazareth, and that's where they chased him out to Mount Peloponnese.
Lepiophagus, yeah.
And I wanted to know that if we'll have time, we might stop there just for 5 minutes, because it's really amazing, because you can actually see the the walls were restored and rebuilt, whatever, but the floor is original from the first century, which is really amazing to see. It was the only structure. Sea of Galilee. Yeah, that's where we stayed 3 nights. I put this one first because this is, we go to Tel Dan the first day, we go up north. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we'll come to the Sea of Galilee, wake up in the morning, and we head north to the Upper Galilee and to Tel Dan. Sea of Galilee is in what's called the Lower Galilee, and so we go up north. That walk that you just saw was just beautiful. It's like you're walking through a hiking path in the Northwest.
Yes.
Unbelievably green and beautiful and water flowing, and you're at the headwaters of the Jordan River. So we get to see that. This is what we call Tel Dan, another Tel, but this was the city of Dan, where the tribe of Dan didn't like what they were given down in the Tel Aviv Jaffa area, beautiful area. They didn't like it. It was too hard there. The Philistines were there. So they headed up north, and they destroyed a very peaceful people, and they built the city of Dan in the far north of Israel. And that's the city. And with that...
Can you go back 1 second?
Yeah. And with that, we have remains of, you may recall that King Jeroboam of the northern kingdom set up 2 golden calves, one at Bethel and one at Tel Dan. And that's where it was. So there was pagan altar right here.
I don't have to prove the Bible, but this is for me really like a confirmation. Like someone says, confirmed. This is confirmed. We found the temple that he built. I mean, we can identify the first 2 rows of stones of the temple that it was a fake temple. It didn't have the Holy of Holies and so on, but it was a temple to stop from the people of Dan to go back to Jerusalem 3 times a year, and maybe to resume the relationship with the families and so on. So it was there to prevent them from going back. We found it. I mean, the way the Bible describes it, that we found it. And the next picture, if you're going to go one more, this is something that I love with all my heart. We found that the people of Laish, the same city that was there before the tribe then came and took over, they wanted to make sure the city is really well protected, fortified, and they built a wall around the city made from mud bricks, which is unusual. Mud bricks, but in a very, very strong one. And we found the gate. We found the gate that led into the city. Remember that story? And this is one of the places that I love talking about it, because we found out that suddenly there was an arch 1,000 years before the Roman invented an arch. And secondly, we found out that this is the only gate that was in the city. Remember that one gate, because otherwise everybody has to be around. And you know, in Genesis 14, there's a beautiful story about Abraham. I mean, all the way to Abraham, that he found out that in the battle between a few cities in the country, between 4 from the north and 5 from the south, they were fighting. And in the midst of the fighting, they captured Lot. Remember the story?
Lot, yeah.
Lot. And they took him as a prisoner to the city of Laish then. And then the Bible tells us a very, very interesting story, that everyone said, no way. And he got himself a small army of 314 people, you know, just to understand how big is the army. The whole city is 500 people. Now he got 314 men, and they're marching into the city of Dan, Laish, and they walk through the gate, which is right over here, and they get to Lot, they release him, and they walked out. And so many times when people come and said, Roni, okay, from the archaeological point of view, the story of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they're not really, you know, that's a little up in the air, right? Up in the air. I have a gate from 3,800 years ago, from the time of Abraham. The only gate that Abraham could walk into the city and come out is right in front of my eyes, in front of our eyes. And you stand over there and you see one of the most amazing discoveries that we have that confirms with no doubt, this is the gate that Abraham had to walk through in order to release Lot. And that's what makes it so unique.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm done talking. Now
That's okay.
now I'm going to rest.
Okay, so John, why don't you take us a little more quickly? This is Chorazim. Oh boy, every time we got to pause. Chorazim, there are, I've called it the ministry triangle of Jesus. Bethsaida, Chorazim, and Capernaum. Those were the three cities that we see, and he went to other villages, but those were the three that we see named out in Scripture that Jesus went and visited and did his work. And we had always, when we first started doing these tours, we went to Capernaum. Everybody goes to Capernaum. And it's a great site, no question. It's beautiful, and there's a lot to see there. And Peter's mother-in-law's house, or Peter's house, and we see the synagogue. So it's amazing, but we always went to Capernaum. And I think it was our first tour with Roni. He said, have you ever been to Chorazim? And I said, no one ever. There's a Chorazim? And he said, well, yeah, it was in the Bible. It's here. And so we added it to the tour that time. We have never stopped going there because what's amazing about Chorazim, Capernaum is built on first century. So some of it you can see and the difference, you see the basalt stone. So some of it is first century. But most of it is not basalt. The synagogue that you stand in Capernaum is not first century. It's from later, built directly above the original synagogue. But you still get a good sense of it. Chorazim is all first century. It's all basalt stone, and in Chorazim is the first century synagogue. And we know that Jesus, as a visiting rabbi going synagogue to synagogue, we know that he taught in the synagogue in Chorazim. And so we get to go, and we go in, no groups go here. No, maybe now, I don't know if people are starting to figure it out, but we typically have the whole place to ourselves, and we'll go into the synagogue and have some teaching. And there was an amazing discovery here, and I'll let Roni tell you about the amazing discovery in the synagogue of Chorazim.
Can you keep on going? No, keep on going, one more. This is no, go back, and we'll let's run this little clip quickly, just so we can go through it. I like Chorazim because it never changed the name. It has Chorazim is really Chorazim in English, Hebrew, all languages. It's a Jewish city from the first century with a synagogue. We always try to find out what is a Jewish city, what is not a Jewish city. And the main thing that indicates today what is a Jewish city, we do archaeological digs and we looked in the garbage. And if we don't find any pig bones, we know it's a Jewish city. We really look for bones in that thing. The Chorazim is beautiful. It has a ritual bath. In order to be a Jewish city, you need a ritual bath and a synagogue. Otherwise, people won't live there. So ritual bath is a mikveh. That's where people purify the body before the Shabbat and holidays. From that ritual bath, we have the baptismal today, and the synagogue is over there is built in a way that you enter and you walk through the synagogue that is decorated with a lot of Jewish symbols that tend to be later on Christian symbols, like you see the shell. But the most important thing that we have over there, that we found over there, and we're going to get in a minute, we found a seat, which called it the seat of Moses. And this is the seat that usually the leader of the community, the rabbi of the community, is going to sit on that seat teaching on Shabbat. And if a rabbi comes from another city, like Jesus came from Capernaum, so the rabbi says, oh, Rabbi Yeshua, what a big honor. Why don't you conduct the service on Shabbat? And Jesus is going to sit on the seat of Moses, and that's where he's going to conduct the service. And we found the seat of Moses. I'm waiting for that to get there. And you have to go a little bit more, very softly more. One more, a little bit more, that's a little bit more, and now we're going to get closer. It's like a movie here. I mean, until I'm getting there. And we found the seat of Moses, and the seat of Moses is for years was over there. When we went there for the first time, the original seat was there, and I always said, this is insane. I know that Jesus sat on this seat. I mean, how many places I can tell for sure that Jesus himself was sitting on that seat? And I said, how can they leave it like that? I mean, people are going to take it away. And one day I came and it wasn't there. And I said, oh man, they stole it. And then I found out, no, they moved it to the Israel Museum. And they put a replica. which looks the same, but it's not the original one. And then now you can go to the next picture, and about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, oh man, I love this picture. 3 years ago, Cheryl and Pastor Rick, we went to Jerusalem, and we spoke about this. I know you know the story, right? You know the story?
I think some, yeah.
But so in the Israel Museum is the seat over there, and I remember that Pastor Rick asked me, "Can we sit on it?" I said, "No, there's a guard. I mean, you cannot sit there. I mean, this is a museum exhibition." I said, "Well, I'm dying to sit on this seat." And I said, "Okay." So we went to the guard and said, "Listen, in the other room, somebody's touching the display." So the guard went, and then he was sitting on that. Look at the victory smile that he has there, sitting on the seat. But first of all, if you go one picture backward, then I'll never forget the expression, "Can I really sit on that seat?" This is it. And the victory smile that you had sitting on the seat. By the way, I don't think anybody else can sit on the seat anymore. I mean, but you really had it.
Just me and Jesus.
I wanted to know that every church I go, every church I go, you did? Not when I was there. You did by yourself. On your own. Every church I go, and I must show this picture. This is like a must in every presentation. Okay, I just wanted to say it. Because
so the pastor of the Bridge Christian Fellowship is world-renowned for sitting on the Moses seat. This is my claim to fame. Yeah. Okay, so from here, now this is Hippo, and we don't normally go to Hippo. We may go. This is one of those, again, we find where we're at in the day, and Roni says, "Do you want to go to Hippo?" And I go, "Let's go to Hippo." So off we go, and we'll add stuff to the tour as we're going. But we have not been to Hippo.
Hippo is a new excavated site. Sits on top of above the Sea of Galilee. It's one of the Decapolis. Remember, Decapolis, these 10 cities which were Roman center, which controlled the whole area. This city, what I love about the city is A, the view, and B, you can see within maybe 20 years, the city from a pagan city turned to be the most Christian city in the whole region. We found 7 huge churches in the city of Hippo, and I really love to go there. It takes me 10 minutes to drive there, 15 minutes to walk uphill, but the walking through is incredible. We always look for new things. It's not that we take other things away. We put it on top of everything, but this is going to be, if we have time, we'll get there. Okay, Hippo.
So we're an hour now. It's Magdala, and we will stay. What's amazing about this, the hotel that we stay at on the Sea of Galilee is at Magdala, Mary Magdalene. It's her hometown, Migdal. And what was found there was a first century synagogue of Magdala. So Mary Magdalene would have been in there. Jesus, no doubt, went into that synagogue. In fact, Migdal is right at the entrance point when you walk. If you were to walk from Nazareth to the Sea of Galilee, you follow a certain path through the mountains and you come out right at Migdal, right at this location. And the Catholic Church built the Magdala Hotel, which is a beautiful hotel right there, literally on top of the archaeological find. So typically at the end of the day, we'll come back to the hotel, kind of clean up, and Roni will say, anyone who'd like to walk the ruins, we'll do that. And it's right there. You look out as you're in the hotel at these ruins. And that's one of the hotels that we'll stay at. That's the one we stay at in the Galilee. But it's just beautiful.
It's beautiful.
There's another Moses seat there.
No.
Oh no, that's not.
This is something that drove me crazy. You see the little thing in the middle? Yeah. That's where most likely the people at the time of Christ, they used to put the Bible. Now, but it wasn't a book, it's a scroll. So you open it, and then you come to the place where you read, and then you wrote it back. But they put it very low. And it drove me crazy. Why is it so low? People had to bend down. Doesn't make any sense. So I asked a priest over there, Father Kelly, and I said, Father Kelly, you are the one who everything. Why is it so low? And he said, maybe it was on another box. And I said, well, so why do you have 4 legs? You see there are 4 legs, so why do you need the 4 legs? And it's very Jewish. You can see the menorah, and you can see the tools from the temple, and you can see the Rosetta symbol on top of it, which is very Jewish and to be very Christian later on. But it has 4 legs. If it sits on another box, why do you need the legs? You make it nice and flat so it won't shake. said, never mind. They like those legs. So I went to Rabbi Jonathan Kahn from New Jersey, and I said, Rabbi Jonathan, what do you think it was? And I said, you should ask for my opinion. You know, he's a little cuckoo, but I love him. I love him dearly. And I said, Rabbi Jonathan, what do you think? Why do you have the thing so low? He said, in my opinion, at the time of Christ, when people were reading the Bible, they were on their knees. And I said, whoa, makes a lot of sense. But this is an amazing finding in the middle of the synagogue with the beautiful, beautiful mosaic floor. Really, almost the only synagogue that wasn't restored. It stayed as from the first century as is, and that's what we see. And of course, we connected to Mary Magdalene, and it's a good story over there.
I've seen the synagogue there. I've seen the digs and walked around it several times with Roni. And so the last time we were there, just this last year, I think, our 2025 tour, Roni said, anyone who wants to do it, and I said, I'm going to get some rest. You guys go and go with Roni. And so Roni introduced him, Father Kelly, who's a Catholic priest who is stationed there, who really knows his stuff, really nice guy. Took our group around, and by the end of the evening, I think about half of our group converted to Catholicism. You know, sometimes you have those situations.
Well, I don't pray a lot. I have to admit I don't pray a lot, but when I come to Magdala, I pray, please, God, make sure I don't see Father Kelly today. because then a visit is supposed to be 25 minutes, tend to be an hour and a half. Mm-hmm. I mean, can I have a minute? I said, 1 minute, sure, 2 minutes. And then for 40 minutes, I lose control. He takes my group, and it's interesting. But, you know, I really want people to enjoy the room. But it's a super site, super, super important site. You know, Mary Magdalene, can I say one more word?
Yeah.
Mary Magdalene was, for many, many years, if you go to every church, every Catholic church in the world, you can see a woman with red hair. Looks like she got out of bed, and this is Mary Magdalene, the prostitute. And the reason why she became a prostitute, because in 595, Father Gregorius, he was nominated as the Pope, and he didn't like that people love Mary Magdalene, because Mary Magdalene, she's the one, she was healed by Jesus, and he took the demons out of her, and she became to be a very loyal follower, and she's the one, she went to the tomb in Jerusalem, and she told everybody that he was risen, and the tomb is empty. I mean, the admiration toward Mary Magdalene was huge. And the head of the church people didn't like it. They said, no, we don't like Mary Magdalene. We love the Virgin Mary. And in order to take away the love for Mary Magdalene, he said, Gregorius said in 595, I think the prostitute and Mary Magdalene is the same person. And for almost 1,500 years, Mary Magdalene is the prostitute. Everybody looked at her as a prostitute, and whatever, she always red hair, the buttons open, 2 bottles of perfume hanging out of her. I mean, only about 30 years ago, or maybe 32 years ago, the Catholic Church said, you know what, we have no fear anymore. Everybody admires the Virgin Mary. And they said, oops, we made a mistake. Mary Magdalene is not the prostitute, it's another woman. And she was cleared from the title, and she was canonized again. Now she's a saint, Mary Magdalene. But the city tells a lot about her, and that's what we talk about it when we get there. But really a powerful visit at Magdala.
Mm-hmm. Shows you what we talked about this morning, how tradition piles upon tradition, and suddenly we come to a belief in our time that's not based on Scripture at all. It's just based on what one leader of the Catholic Church in the 500s says, oh no, I think this. And so all of a sudden people believe it instead of just going, just go back to the Word of God. Just keep it simple. Go to God's Word. Here we have one of the boats on the Sea of Galilee. Is that the one that we worship?
That's Faith.
Yeah. So we have Daniel Carmel, who's just a great guy, and he, beautiful singing voice, and he sings, and we do worship on the boat, take it out in the middle of the sea. And it's every time we do this, it's meaningful. Again, for Cheryl and I, it's been, for you, 50 years worth of going out on the sea, but it's one of the most meaningful kind of moments on the tour, is to be out literally on the Sea of Galilee, worshiping, and we talk a little bit about what Jesus did out there, walking on the sea. So it's a great moment. We do that. We come back and we take a look at this is the ancient Jesus boat. I don't know if you want to say anything about it. This is a first.
This is the first time that we found a boat that most likely was handmade. It's a fisherman boat, okay? Just so we can say fishermen, Sea of Galilee, the disciples. And this is someone who decided that he cannot afford to buy a boat, and he did it yourself, do it yourself. And he bought a cedar tree from Lebanon, and he put a nice boat, but when he put it in the water, it started to leak. And we found out that there were 3 attempts to get rid of the leak or fix it somehow. Eventually he gave up and he brought it to the shop in Magdala, and over there it fell into the water and covered by schmutz, by mud. And the mud preserved the boat, because in sweet water you have a bacteria which is going to disintegrate the boat, and this one wasn't disintegrated. It was kept covered by mud, and we took it out and we were able to date it. Well, first of all, it took us a while to dry it up. It took us almost 8 years to dry it up and to take out the water and put some wax instead of the water. And then we can date it to the year 33 to 35 AD. And this is powerful, because this is the same time when the fishermen are going to go and out of Capernaum or maybe Bethsaida. And we can see the size, we can see the shape, and this is the only wooden boat from 2,000 years ago in the world, okay? And I can always, every time I understand it, I can visualize how Jesus at the stern and he's falling asleep, and they wake up and say, "Rabbi, quickly get up, it's stormy," and so on. Really a piece of history that is connected to us, all of us, in a very powerful way.
Yeah. So Capernaum, village of Nahum, or village of comfort, and I talked about that before, and again, we always go there. It's a really special place to go, and there's a lot to talk about there, and so many of the miracles of Jesus. In fact, the majority in the New Testament happen in Capernaum. So we'll visit that. That's the first century synagogue. Very first time we took a group, my daughter Hannah was with us, and we were also excited because the tour guide who had taken us the very first time, not David Kidron, but another guy who was with us, was telling us, "Oh yeah, this is first century, this is first century." So we're standing on the floor and everybody's going, "Oh, this is where Jesus stood." And so that's all I knew. So we took our first tour group there, and we're telling everybody, "Yeah, this is first century synagogue." And I turn around and look over there, and Aubrey Hoffman and my daughter Hannah had their shoes off, and they were taking pictures of their bare feet on the synagogue floor, because this is where Jesus walked. It wasn't. His was about 10 feet down below, but you can see that. And we want to be truthful. You know, we want to find, okay, where did it really happen? Where are the honest locations? But this is an amazing find, because this is a rebuilt synagogue from 325, built directly on top of the original synagogue. And so we know right where it was, and so we can walk from there. And Roni mentioned this morning, you walk 30, 40 feet, and you're at Peter's house.
This is Peter's house.
Yeah, and there it is. And how that works, and the building, and when you're there, you can really get a picture of how the homes were built. These are the walls coming up a certain point, and then they built on up above that and the roof, and it's easier to see when you're actually there visibly. You can see right above Peter's house too that we had an alien spacecraft landed, and we've kept it there. This actually would have been in Area 51, but it's now in Capernaum. No, I'm kidding. That obviously is that's a Catholic church, and I had never gone up into it until this last time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, went up, and what's cool about the way it's built is you go up inside, and the middle is a window, so you can look right down into what was the house itself. So, but yeah, it's a beautiful location. This is now up on the Mount of Beatitudes. This is the church that is up there.
You can walk very nicely. There's a beautiful.
It's a lovely walk through banana fields down to the Sea of Galilee.
Yeah. By the way, this is the first time that the Catholic Church built a church in the wrong place. They really picked up Mount of Beatitude in the middle of the hill, because we found the original church that was built there around 325. It's right on the bottom. But an Italian architect who came there in around the 1920s, he decided that the little church is not good enough. He needs a bigger space. So he went uphill and he found a little plateau, and he built the church in the wrong place, because the Sermon of the Mount is going to be when Jesus stands down there and he talks to the people, and his voice is going to be carried up. It's a shape of a theater. And But it's nice, and it's a great place for teaching, and you can see the whole Sea of Galilee, but it's in the wrong place. But it's a pretty church just to walk through.
Yep. So Jordan River, there's a place to be baptized up there. I call it the Disneyland baptisms. Because when you can see kind of the bars and stuff, and it's all set up, and it's very clean and very well done. And once you're done getting baptized, you get to walk through this huge gift shop. It's the only way to get out of there. Chuck Smith actually is the one who had that built back in the 70s, 80s.
Yeah, in the 80s.
And then he, kind of gave it over to Israel. But it's a beautiful place to be baptized. It is not where Jesus baptized. It's not where John the Baptist baptized. This is up in the northern region of Israel, up in the Galilee. And so, yes, that is the Jordan River, and it's very clean. It's very cold up there. And we used to do baptisms up there, but I asked Roni, I think it was the very first time, can't we get more authentic? Can't we get more to where Bet Abara, or the place of the crossing, the house of the crossing is? And so he said, well, yeah, that's there. So that's where we baptize now, and you'll see a picture of that in just a minute. So from there, we head down on the day we leave the Galilee. So you can see on the map, we head down now to Bet Shan. Go ahead, John, and we'll try and do this more quickly. On the way down to Bet Shan, we'll stop at Gideon Springs, and we know that this is the location where Gideon chose his army, the lapdogs, I call them. They're at Gideon Spring. It's an amazing location. We have teaching, beautiful grassy area. It's just very restful. So it's a great stop on the way down south. And then we go to Bet Shan. And I call this Bet Shine because this is where Roni really shines as a tour guide. Loves to take people through, and he's got this inside and out. You walk through. This is one of the biggest in the land. Is it the biggest one?
It's a Decapolis.
It's one of the cities of the Decapolis. Scythopolis is what it was called.
And it's a complete Roman city. We can walk there for 45 minutes, and I can show you in 45 minutes what you need in Rome for 2 days, 2.5 days in Rome. It's 45 minutes over there. It's complete Roman city, very pagan city. The city was dedicated to the god of wine, the Bacchus or Dionysus. And it's really amazing to walk through. It had nothing to do with any biblical thing. And really no biblical, but it's to show you a very powerful archaeology. I was always afraid to take people to archaeological site because I can get excited from some stones and people say, what's wrong with him? But this is really a powerful place. Really shows you the best Roman best Roman building in its best, but it was destroyed. And the fact that it was destroyed in 749 AD, it was destroyed with the whole north of Israel. All the cities, 21 cities were destroyed. And I'm going to go back to what you said about 5 minutes ago, that the trio, it's Capernaum, Bethsaida, and Chorazim, they're all mentioned in Matthew 11, a city that are going to be destroyed. And they were destroyed, Bethsaida, Chorazim, and Capernaum, at the same time, at the same second, but together with another 18 cities. And one of them is going to be Bet Shan. And you can say, okay, Roni, okay, now, come on, be real. 21 cities were destroyed, including the 3, right? Okay, so what's your point? My point is very interesting. My point is say that 21 were cities destroyed, including Bethsaida, Chorazim, Capernaum, but all the other cities, except for those 3, were rebuilt and restored. And Bethsaida, Chorazim, and Capernaum were never rebuilt. Destroyed. And this, for me, this is fulfillment of prophecy. And we see it over there very clearly. Again, another theater that we see over there, a very big one. I like theaters because you can really, where are we now?
Now we're at Qasar al-Yahud. This is also Bet Abara. So this is the place of the crossing. This is the place in the Jordan River that is now south. It's east of Jerusalem. And this is where the Israelites crossed the Jordan. This is where John the Baptist did his baptizing. Later, the apostles of Jesus were there baptizing as well. So this is where we like to do baptisms. The water's a little warmer. It is definitely a little murkier. That's okay. It's all right. You can shower off, but
they built complete, in the last 3 years, they built a huge visitor centers. So now you have nice showers and a shop. Of course, they want to go.
So one is Walt Disney World, this one's Disneyland.
Yeah,
but,
that's right.
and that's just me. I love the authenticity of places in the land that are like Abraham's Gate we saw earlier, untouched, except that they're archaeologically excavated, but they're left as they were. It's okay. It's still to be baptized in the Jordan River is a highlight. It's a really special thing, and we only almost lost one person. So, listen, another story.
You told me something else. You told me he was always late, and he kept his head a little bit longer.
Well, for $20, I'll keep anybody down. Yeah.
I know.
So from Bet Shan, we head on down. Well, and that was Qasr al-Yahud. Then we head down to the southern region by the Dead Sea, and this is a really powerful day. We come into Jerusalem in the evening, spend the night there, then we get on the bus the next morning and we head down to the Dead Sea. That day includes a very powerful time at Masada. I'm not going to speak to that because that's something that I love hearing Roni share and talk about. But we'll do Masada, we'll do En-Gedi, where David hid in the caves from Saul. By the way, and I think it was Cam who brought this to me, that at October 7th, one of the places that when people were fleeing the Hamas terrorists down in the south, one of the places that they fled to and were protected was En-Gedi. Same place that David hid out. Wow, I mean, just things like that to connect then and now. But En-Gedi is an absolutely beautiful, breathtaking place.
We're going to see
but this is
Masada.
Masada.
Keep on going, and we're going to get. This is the synagogue, and this is En-Gedi.
There's En-Gedi.
It's the only sweetwater spring around about maybe 40 square kilometers, and we see a lot of wildlife like the ibex, and it's really we walk there. It's really it's in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of a yellow desert. Suddenly it looks like a dream. You can see the water flows down in some springs. Usually if we have time, we go all the way to the top, and that's where we can have the teaching. But this is it, and then we go to the Dead Sea. We call it Dead Sea because no organism can be alive in the Dead Sea. 36% of the water is salt. I mean, 1/3 of the water is salt. Nothing can live there. We call it, you can see the salt pillars in the water, okay? And it's experience to float in the sea. I mean, you can't even drown. You can sit in the water, you can lie down, you can hold a paper, you can do whatever you want, but you never sink in the water. And then we cover you with a little mud.
We have, I couldn't bring myself to do it. We've got a picture of Mike Hoffman covered, and Hillary, the two of them covered in mud, just like this. I mean, really an impressive shot. But people do this because the Dead Sea mud is so good for the skin and so healing, and so they'll do this and then go shower off. Is it what now?
You don't go in it anymore, do you?
No, I have a coffee and just let you do your thing. Yeah. I've had enough. Yeah. But I floated in it like everybody else. So then back to Jerusalem. Go ahead, John. Go forward there.
That's the morning in Jerusalem. That's what we see from our hotel. This is from the Inbal Hotel, by the way.
Was that from the Inbal? And that's the place that we stay when we're in Jerusalem, in the Inbal Hotel. Food is fantastic. The hotel itself is really nice. I'll just address this. People ask me about the cost of the tour, and it's the one thing that is heartache to me. I wish that it could be so much less expensive, just because I want more people to go. It's worth saving every dollar for. If you have to knock off a liquor store, don't tell me. But the Inbal, people say, well, why don't you just do cheaper hotels? We could really skimp on things, make it as cheap as dirt cheap, and get you there, and you're not going to save but a few $100s, maybe. And once you're spending what you're spending to get over there and to experience the tour anyway, we've really learned that at the end of the day, and we do not hard in terms. I mean, a lot of people, we've taken people in all kinds of physical shape on this tour, and they've done well. But at the end of the day, you want a good place to rest, and it's nice to have some good food, right, Mary? Yes. Thank you. So the Inbal, this is a favorite of mine and Cheryl's. It's just a beautiful hotel. Everyone who's been there, you know what I'm talking about. And that was before was the view out of the morning from the Imbal. Okay, so Mount of Olives, we go up first full day in Jerusalem. We go up to the top of the Mount of Olives, and this is the view down toward the Temple Mount. You can go on, John. Looking at the eastern gate, what's called the Golden Gate of the temple, just on the other side. Bill was called out for trying to take pictures. Yeah.
The Russian church on the way down. Yeah. If someone cannot walk down, we can always supply some transportation.
That's right.
If we want to. There he's standing over there. This is the bottom of the we walk the Palm Sunday way. Okay, that's I didn't put all the, but I like very much to stop on the way and to show things that are on the way. For example, we love to stop where Jesus was weeping over the city of Jerusalem. That's powerful because you stand exactly opposite to the temple, and everything is so close. And he said, no, of course, it makes so much sense. There's no other place he could stand and weep over Jerusalem unless if it's going to be on this exactly spot. And that's where we stand. And then we go here to the Garden of Gethsemane. And this is it. I have to say, in the last few years, I guide all kinds of people, and this is a place that we have the oldest olive trees, I think, in the world. And they were here 2,000 years ago. We date them. We were able to take some samples of the trees. Oxford University took some samples and brought them to university, and they would date them to the year 10. And it means they were there when Jesus was weeping and say, Father, remove the cup. Mm-hmm. And
it's amazing about the olive trees too, and you can see how rugged they are and what the olive trees do. Some of you know is they will grow for a while and then they will seem to die and be very rugged and kind of sharp on the outside, and then you'll see a tiny little shoot will pop up and it's like it dies and comes back to life. And so yeah, these are they're 2,000-year-old olive trees there in the Garden of Gethsemane. So trees that Jesus would have been walking through, perhaps praying on.
I was there with Jonathan, and I never saw him getting emotional, and he was filming over there, and for the first time I saw him with tears because he couldn't get to the atmosphere, to the role that he's sitting over there. This is one of the places we identify for sure, and just because in Judaism there is a law how far you can walk out of the city during holidays and Shabbat, and it fits exactly to the distance that Jewish people are required to stay within the city limit. And so we can tell right away that the Garden of Gethsemane is right where he could have walked after the upper room. When Jesus leaves the upper room, he's limited how far can he walk out of the city, and he stopped in a certain place. He doesn't go back to the house of Martha and Lazarus. He stays at that area, and we can identify it with no doubt. Yeah.
This was just sent to me, so this just in, and I know you're not going to be able to see it in the back, but feel free to come see me afterward. But here's Mike at the Dead Sea.
I want to
okay, so this is Hillary just sent that to me. So throwing her dad under the bus. And we're on a bus the whole tour, so we're constantly throwing someone under the bus. That's hilarious. Thanks, Hillary.
Upper room.
Upper room. We talked about that this morning. We shared a little bit about the upper room, one of the stops that we make. I want you to look down in the far left corner. This is an amazing painting, but if you can see that, it's really tiny writing. I'll read it to you. Painted by R. Winter. So yeah, this is one of Roni's paintings. Either Roni or Da Vinci. We're not really sure. But it was one of the two of them. Okay, go on, John.
It was for your eyes only.
For my eyes only? Well, it was on there. I saw that yesterday. Roni sent this to me, and I was going through the slides, and I saw that Da Vinci painting, painted by R. Winter. Okay, Temple Mount. This is up on the actual Temple Mount itself. Very, very powerful. One of the things that I love that Roni does is he walks us into the temple. But what we do is we start out at the eastern gate, we go over there, and we walk in as if you were walking into the actual temple. And what's amazing is as you walk toward the actual temple, the Dome of the Rock is off to your left. Yeah. You're coming from the way of the east. It's over here. It's not where it would have been. Where the actual temple would have been would be in alignment with the eastern gate. We know exactly where the eastern gate was, because the one that we saw earlier when you were looking down from the Temple Mount is directly above the original eastern gate, and that's something we talk about on the tour. I have pictures that can show you of an archaeologist who fell in after a rainy morning, right down and saw the arch of the original eastern gate directly below the facade, or the one that's up there now. So we start there and we do a walk into the temple, and it's just very powerful to get a sense of where the temple was, where the holy place, and even the Holy of Holies, where we think it was. And I think we've got a picture. John went back, yeah.
There was a picture of the Holy of Holies. You know, today we can say for sure that the beautiful building, which we call the Dome of the Rock, was built in the wrong place. And we can verify it very clearly because when we go to Masada, I'm going to show that in the middle of nowhere, Herod built things that you can't even believe that someone can build in the middle of the desert, and that's nowhere. This is the masterpiece of his life. He's going to be remembered forever for what he built, more than the pyramids. And he was very precise when it comes to measurement, what is equal, whatever. And exactly what you see over there, this is the floor of the Holy of Holies. And it's a piece of rock. And interesting enough, the Muslim built a little chapel above it, and they call it the Chapel of the Spirit. What spirit? My spirit, Spirit of God. So,
well, and there's a secondary name that the Muslims had used for this, and we have evidence of this going back centuries before. Now they deny it, but not only Dome of the Spirit, but it's also called the Dome of the Tablets. Well, the tablets were in the Ark of the Covenant, which would have stood on the floor in the holy place. This is the only, right there under that little cupola is the only exposed bedrock on the Temple Mount, except for what's in the Dome of the Rock itself, but that is not flat. You would need a secure, flat place to put the Ark of the Covenant. So, yeah, we believe that is right. This is the place.
I really like it. This is one of my favorite places. and it's interesting because the Muslim will never accept the fact there was a temple. Even in Arabic, the name of is Jabal Muqaddas, the hill of the temple. In Arabic, Jabal Muqaddas. They changed the name to Haram Sharif, the holy place. But because they don't accept the fact that there was a temple, they cannot go against us when we say this is the temple. They get really upset when we stand over there, and not once or not twice, they give me a hard time. They said, tell him the truth. Tell him you're lying. There was never a temple. Okay, there was never a temple. But it's right over there.
But there was a temple. The pools of Bethesda, that's right out. We come out of the Temple Mount area and come into that, where Jesus healed the lame man. Each of these places, so many of these stops, we will talk about the archaeology of it and how it was unearthed and how it was discovered. But we also then will open up the Bible and we'll read the story and we'll talk a little bit about it. And so it's very moving. It's the most, in my entire life, that week and a half, 2 weeks in Israel is the most constant being in the Word, on location of anything else. I mean, obviously, because you're there in the land, but it's just very impactful, I think, personally and spiritually. So it's not just, don't get the wrong idea. We study and we are in the Word, and you're going to get a lot of information, but it's not a study tour. It's a heart tour. And it is really about getting just in connection with the Word of God, with the Spirit of God, and with what the Lord accomplished in Israel.
Yeah, I can see it right. Well, this is the Jewish quarter already, and I like to go there because you can see how a new city was built over the city from the time of Christ. You can see the main street from the time of Christ, and then from the year 200, I mean, they built it on top of each other. Mm-hmm. It's, interesting enough, in 1948, Jordan conquered the east part of Jerusalem, the old part, and they were a little concerned about Jewish resistance, like in the ghetto. They're going to be like uprising. So they went from one house to another, and they blew up all the houses in the Jewish quarter. Everything was blown up. And we were sure that they're going to rebuild it. No, they left it like that, even as a landfill. In 1967, when Israel came back after the 6 Days War to the old part of Jerusalem, to the eastern part, the archaeologists asked for 2 years of grace period. Give us 2 years to dig. And we started to dig what they call the Jewish Quarter today. And you know what? We found the whole city from the time of Christ under the city of today. And we're going to go there. We're going to be there. So that's it. The Western Wall, of course.
Yeah.
That's one of the walls that supported the temple so it won't slide down and so on.
This is so funny. So he's on his cell phone, if you can't see that, and it says, "Hey God, it's Moshe. Can you hear me now?" Western Wall at night. We like to, we've only done this the last few tours, but we love to do what's called the Western Wall Tunnel, the Rabbi's Tunnel, and that's to the far left of the screen there, but we go in another way and we follow underground. We follow this tunnel that goes along some of the original stones from the time of Herod, 1st century, but we like to do it at night.
I love it.
And the Rabbi's Tunnel at night is really cool, and just walking over, even walking from the Inbal Hotel over to the old city at night is just beautiful. And so we'll do that this next tour.
We have a chance to see Jerusalem by night. We go.
Yeah, that's great. Shiloh, Sharon and I drag Roni there every time. Actually, Roni loves it, but it is an amazing place. This is actually in the what they call the West Bank. It's Judea and Samaria. And we go out there, the first location of the Ark of the Covenant and the tabernacle in the land was at Shiloh. It is a powerful location, and I won't say much more about that. I think on this tour, it may actually be on what we call the extension. If you don't know what that is, we do our tour, and then we offer an extension tour, which gives a few more days, this time staying in the land of Israel, and we'll do Shiloh. We're also going to go down to the south. We're going to visit some of the memorial sites from the October 7th massacre. Very, very moving to understand more vividly what took place. We'll see that. We're going to go to Tel Sheva, Beersheba, and we will see Shiloh as well. We're going to go to the Elah Valley, where some of you have been to some of these places, but where David fought Goliath. So it's a really cool kind of way to bring some of the more ancient parts of the tour up to modern Israel and understand what's been going on since 1948, what Israelis have had to deal with, and as recently as 2-3 years ago now, had to deal with on October 7th, and what is ongoing with the Aram War. We'll get a real sense of all of that as well. So that's Shiloh.
City of David.
City of David. I love the City of David. It's just a beautiful, that's a whole experience in and of itself. We will walk down through the City of David, experience it. Do you want to say anything about it, or?
I like the City of David because we had a chance to excavate, and you know, we had a little issue with David because we were digging in Jerusalem for 35 years. We didn't find anything from David, and people started to say maybe there was no David. Maybe we just made it up, you know, to build some roots. And a few years ago, we found the Palace of David. We can identify it as the Palace of David. We can confirm it with no doubt as the Palace of David. And there's a beautiful walk that you walk through 2 tunnels, and this is one of them. You can see that's the tunnel that's the tunnel. No, that's the tunnel that takes you to the tunnel. Okay, there's a tunnel that takes you to the tunnel. I know you're getting tired, but you know when David came to the City of David. And it wasn't David. I mean, by the way, there's no such a thing, City of David. We made up the name. You know, it sounds good for tourism. They call it the Fortress of Zion or Urushalayim, and later on Jerusalem. David conquered the city by tricking the people who lived there. He went through a tunnel that the people of Jerusalem used to go down to the water in order to get the water. He knew about this tunnel, and he came up and he conquered the city without spilling one drop of blood. And he turned it into his capital. And this is the tunnel that David came up in order to conquer the city. Yeah. And then, of course, there are some structures over there. I'm not going to tell you the whole story of City of David. Otherwise, I'll be speechless when we get there. But don't worry, when it happens. But there's a lot of stories. City of David, in my eyes, is one of the most interesting days. Mm-hmm. It's toward the end because after a week, we're a little tired of listening to me. This is easy going, super, super interesting, City of David. Yeah. And we even found the first ever toilet in the City of David, but I'll talk about it over there. No, never mind that now. That was it. Yeah. You know how happy archaeologists when they find a little feces from 2,500 years ago? They get so excited. It's amazing. Pool of Siloam. Oh, I have so many things completely changed. It doesn't look like that anymore. We excavate the whole thing. I'm going to wait for you to get there. This is poof. Powerful.
First time we came out. So you go through the City of David, you go through Hezekiah's tunnel. There's the water tunnel that is part of that experience. And usually, a lot of our group loves to do it. And I've done it a couple times. Cheryl does it every time. Go through the tunnel and come out, and you come out at the Pool of Siloam. And when the first time we were there, the Pool of Siloam was a garbage dump. And I was determined to teach about the Pool of Siloam. So we sat there smelling that garbage while I taught because this was too important. But I'm so happy that they were already starting to do some excavating, and they've done more and more, and the whole thing, it's a great location to sit and rest and dry off. And we do teaching there.
Jesus performed only 2 miracles in Jerusalem, only 2. One of them is the Pool of Siloam, and the other one is the pool next to St. Anne, okay? And we're going to see both of them. It's very moving when you go to a place that a miracle took place right over there. And we're going to see both of them. And then we're going to get to the southern wall. The Jewish people used to enter the temple from the south because that's the only place they could really walk up to the temple. The Jewish way of thinking says, you don't go down to the house of God. You always go up to the house of God, and the only path that takes you up was from the south. And these are the steps which are leading into the temple. Yep. I wanted to know that, I'll tell you everything when you get there, but we were really trying to find out where Jesus he spent the whole week in Jerusalem. I mean, every morning he left the house of Lazarus, went down, and he was teaching somewhere. And finally we came to the conclusion, the only place, and this is agreed by every archaeologist, every historian, every theologist, you had to sit on those steps that people came in and out from the temple. He wouldn't try to do anything when people come to the temple. They are so excited to go. But after they are done with praying and they're sacrificed, they're very relaxed and they come down and the rabbi sits and he's teaching. By the way, the rabbi always sits, the students always stand. And I can almost point within a few yards where he was sitting and teaching the whole week. And we'll get there. And this is really powerful.
This morning, I mentioned the prophetess Huldah. These are the Huldah gates. So that's what I said this morning, that there are 3 gates embedded in the wall called the Huldah gates, and that's where the name comes from.
That's the entrance.
Yeah. Keep going, John.
Okay, that's what I mean. That's exactly where we're going to sit. Matter of fact, this is a group from Washington State. It's a group that came from Bellingham. Yeah, and they were sitting over there. And interesting enough, I really love this place, but I'm not going to say anything anymore. I'll talk when we get there.
St. Peter and Gallicantu. What is Gallicantu?
The rooster.
The rooster. Peter and the rooster. This church commemorates the location of the house of Caiaphas, the high priest. And this is one of those places where there's a high degree of certainty that this was in fact the house of Caiaphas, where it's located, what is found in the house in terms of the ritual baths. And further in, and you keep going, you go down into the house and there is a pit in the bottom of the house. And we believe Jesus was in that pit as a holding cell while they were trying to figure out what to do with him.
It's the place, right?
And there it is, yeah, looking down in there. It's hard to get the concept, but we actually kind of shuffle our entire group down into it. And again, it's one of those very moving locations. Shrine of the Book, very interesting. This is at the Israel Museum, and this is what holds the Dead Sea Scrolls. So we often will stop and go in and see those. It's really interesting architecture. If you see it, it's designed to look like a scroll on the inside. And the scroll of Isaiah there. Keep going. This is super helpful to people. And I thank Roni for this, because we never used to go take a look at this, but it really gives a sense of Jerusalem in the first century. It's a scale model, but it's miniature. So we walk around this, it's huge, huge, but we can really get a sense of the city walking around that.
Yeah, they use the topography, they built the topography of Jerusalem. They use the local stone, what you call the limestone, the Jerusalem stone. And usually people ask me, how do you know this is the way it looked like? Have you been here 2,000 years ago? And I said, no, I haven't, but you haven't either. So I can say whatever I want. No, but we have a very good, the Bible gives us description, Josephus Flavius gives us description, another historian, Philon from Alexandria, gives us description, and archaeological digs. So when I put all four of them together, I can get a very clear picture how the city looked like. And as I told you before, we excavated the whole city of Jerusalem under the Jewish quarter, so it really gives us a big dimension. Mm-hmm. And this is the last stop of the tour.
Yep, last stop, we come to the Garden Tomb. There's also the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. So there are two kind of locations that people talk about and debate about where Jesus was both crucified and buried. This one is very attractive to me. I heavily lean toward this Garden Tomb area. This is Golgotha. Golgotha, which means the skull. You all know that. And this hillside to this day looks like a skull. When you look at pictures going back to 1800s, there's a black and white photograph that's very famous that was taken of there, and it looks even more like a skull. There's been some erosion since then, but you see that skull on the side, and they called it Skull Hill, where he was crucified. There's a bus depot there now, a Muslim bus depot that's right at the bottom of it. But they say, John writes that where he was, in the place he was crucified, there was a garden. And in that garden was where he was buried. Well, if you walk around from Skull Hill, you come around the side, and there is a garden, and they found this tomb. A lot to talk about with that I won't get into right now, but this is a very moving place that we stop.
I think this is the most powerful part of the tour, in my eyes. I mean, I always look how people come out from sight. Everybody is going to get touched in a different place. Some people say, wow, we love the boat, wow, we love that. And everybody is going to come to me in the end of the say, Roni, I really love this, and and I'm listening. But in my eyes, the visit over here, the communion, the gathering together, the singing over here, that's what you take with you home as the most powerful place that on the tour. Not the others were not good, but this is really the one that really people tell me, we were so touched, and I'm happy because I really want people to come to the land, and I'm just a middleman. You know, for me it's very easy. I take you from one place to the other. I make sure they get it on time. The place is talking for itself. You know, I can take it. I mean, you really feel that Jesus just left 10 minutes ago, and you sense the sight, and you walk away, and you said, man, I never thought it's going to be so powerful. And as I said before, you know, I listen to people when they share their thoughts. It's amazing because everything is so close. Everything makes sense. And when you come home, it takes you about a week to clear up your mind and to shake your head and say, okay. And then you open the Bible and you look at your Bible and say, man, I know exactly what happened. Because we're going to talk, and Pastor Rick is going to teach, and he's going to teach. I'm not a teacher, I'm just a guide. But I have to tell you one thing, what I like to do, I like very much to take the part, and he's going to do the teaching, and Jesus said so, and Jesus said so. And I'll come with a little tiny addition, and I'm going to tell you what he meant. Because in order to understand what he was saying, you have to understand what he meant. And I can talk about it from the Jewish point of view, what he meant. And when you come home and you open your Bible and you got everything together, and you said, with no doubt, this changed my life forever. Mm-hmm. And you're going to be regretting one thing that you didn't go there before, as I said before. But you know, this is the only time you can ask Bill. You come home and you wonder when you're going to be back. And I have to tell you, Israel is amazing when you come for the first time. It's super amazing when you come for the second time. Because when you come for the first time, you don't know what to do first. You take pictures, take notes. I mean, listen, look. I mean, everything is like, when you come to the second time, you're relaxed. You have time to look. And you have time to take, I have your pictures that you get me from 2 years. Every year you give me the tons of pictures. And I can see the difference from the first year and the second year. The first year was quickly, second year was relaxed. And I know, and my biggest thing that I feel as a guide, that when you leave the country, you feel that you leave your own country. And I keep on saying all the time, people, we always say 3 religions were born in the country: Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. Great statement. Islam was born somewhere in Mecca, Medina, who knows where. Judaism was born in Egypt, Mount Sinai. The only religion that was really born in the country is Christianity. And you walk around and you feel connected. And when you leave, you have a feeling that you leave something that belongs to you. Mm-hmm. And you will never get it in Hawaii, in Bora Bora, or wherever you go. This is going to be really a life-changing event. And my reward is to witness it. And that's what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. So if you ever want to hack any of my online stuff that I do, when, sometimes they'll give you a security question on that, and you can put in your answer. And on several of the little locations that I have, the security question is favorite vacation spot. And I always put Israel. And if I was given the choice to go anywhere in the world, I would go to Israel. I would go to Israel we were just in Hawaii with my parents on that recent cruise, and it was beautiful. I love Hawaii. And Cheryl and I honeymooned there. I'd rather go to Israel. And it's because of exactly what Roni described, the connection to the land. This is the only land in the world that God said, I put my name there. Jerusalem is the only city in the world that God said, I'm going to put my name there. He chose the land for his own, past, present, and future. So it belongs to him. And I know how I feel when I invite someone over to my house. I want them to come see my house, come see where I live. Come on, we want to have you over. And as soon as we can wrangle the dogs and get them under control, we're going to start doing that again. But I love having people over, and because I get to share some of who I am, who Cheryl is, how we live, what our home is like. And I really believe God is the same way with Israel. Come to my house. Come check it out. If you're feeling at all like I'm trying to sell you on a tour, you know what? You decide. You go if you want to go. You go if the Lord provides for you at whatever time. I know some of you have been waiting for years. I was 41 the first time we went. But it is worth, in my opinion, life savings. It is worth doing because it just changes your entire perspective. And I really wanted y'all to get that tonight. And by the way, if you go home and say, oh, there it is, next year in Jerusalem, which is, can you say it in Hebrew for me?
בשנה הבאה בירושלים.
Yeah. Next year in Jerusalem. You're all invited. If you go home tonight and go, well, we don't need to go. We just went tonight. No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
It's not even close to.
Not even close. I mean, we basically kind of scratched the surface of the actual experience. So you're all invited to consider that, pray about it, ask the Lord what his will is. If you're not sure how do I do this, well then ask the Lord to provide. I believe that he will, and I've seen him provide for people over and over and over in ways that they didn't know until they started asking. So I encourage you to pray about it. I'm so sorry because this is what happens. This is what happens on a tour. We get going, and it's kind of hard to stop because there's so much to see and to talk about and to share together. But I do want to, if there's anybody who has any questions for Roni, for me about the tour or about Israel, we'll take a few real quickly. Yeah, Trish? The Pilgrim's Road.
Pilgrim Road.
Yes.
We'll do that.
We'll do that. Yeah, and that's coming up from the city of David up toward the southern steps, or toward the temple. Yeah.
It's
yeah.
there.
So Pilgrim's Road has opened up, and we'll do that. Yeah. Yeah, so it's very interesting. And the signups, I need to know at least to give Coral Tours as soon as possible. We're trying to get a good head count of people. So I'm going to be sending out an email tomorrow or Tuesday at the latest. To everyone who's on the sign-up list, and there's a list out there on the welcome table. And if you just want to, if you put your name on that list, you're not signing up definitely to go. We have a thing that says 100% I'm going, or just check I'm just interested. Put your name and email, and you'll be on the email group for this particular tour. But I'll be sending out an email talking about that. It's interesting that normally the original date, the first deposit date, is in May, but with Coral Tours, it's November. So you have until November 1st to make that first deposit for the tour. It all then has to be paid by January, I believe.
About 90 days before the flight.
Yeah. So there are more flyers and handouts out there on the tour, and the cost and everything. By the way, when you look at the cost, that is the most expensive that it will be, but it comes down, depending on the number of people who are going on the tour and a couple of other variations that we may make, the cost will come down from there. That's the most expensive that the tour will be. But you can sign up. I was going to ask you, can anybody even right now send deposits to
Yes.
Coral? And
we don't, the idea is not to hold you as hostages. The idea is just to make sure that we are functioning and keep on going. I have to say one thing, that if right now we see that things are calming down in Israel, and that's what we project. But I have to say that my connection to Pastor Rick and Cheryl is very deep, and I won't even think about getting you into the land if I think there is a slight chance that it's not going to be quiet. And so I'm going to let you, I won't let you come if I don't think it's very quiet. And if you're going to come, it's going to be for sure when I know that things are very normal. For me, the best indication, I'm looking at the airlines. I mean, Lufthansa, they are the first one to run away from Israel if something happened. They're the last one to come. They're flying into Israel as from June 1st. I mean, in 13 days, they're going to fly back from Israel. If Lufthansa is flying, so then we open all the sites and everything is normal. And I'm still, I'm watching things. You have time. You can show now maybe that you want to go, but I'll let you come when I know that for sure that everything is very safe and very quiet.
we were 2 weeks away from going to Israel in March of 2020. And COVID hit and everything shut down and the whole world went crazy and everything was full stop. And so we were not able to go on that tour. Everybody either was refunded or if they wanted to, they could apply it to when we could go. The next time we were able to get into the land was 2022 and we were there. And again, 2023 and 2025. So we've been 3 times here recently. I'm going to keep going, and we're going to keep taking as long as people are interested and want to go to the land. We're going to go back. But as Roni said, there is a tremendous sense of security. We're not going to go. Worst case scenario, you sign up, you pay all your money, you're good to go, and something is unsettled or the airlines are not going to fly. Well, what happens then? It'll be one of 2 things. Either we'll get your money back to you and refund it, or we will tell you instead of March, we're going to go in October. Or instead of October, we're going to go the next March. And we just watch things and we do what we have to do, which is what we did in 2020. So security is not an issue. For every single one of you who have traveled to Israel before, I feel way safer throughout all of Israel than I ever do in Seattle. Not even close. I would walk the streets of Jerusalem at night, unafraid, comfortably. Becky did. She was just out. Our group was doing some things and she had to stay back. And so she went out for a walk by herself in the streets of Jerusalem at night, totally safe. And you did yourself. So see, and that's the thing. It's just, until you're there, you don't realize how secure you really feel. Now, yeah, we've seen a lot happening over the last 2 years, last 3 years with attacks on Israel. And keep praying for the peace of Jerusalem. But just know when you're on the ground, when you're there, it's very different than it is on CNN.
Oh,
right?
What you see here on TV is very far away from what is happening over there. Sometimes I was watching CNN about 3 years ago, and I said, "This is what goes on there. I'm not going back." I mean, but it's very different, and you need about a day to realize that you feel very comfortable. And then when you come back home and people ask you, how was it? And you tell them they hardly believe you because this is not what we see on TV. But you'll see for yourself.
Yeah. Okay, a couple of different, let me get you over here.
It's 3 to 13, but does 13 really mean 14? When you come back, it's my time off.
The final day of what's interesting about the 13th when you fly home is you leave on the 13th and you get back on the 13th. Because you're picking up time, because of the time difference, you actually arrive the day you left. So yeah, it is, the actual tour is 3 to 13. The extension, the additional time, and we need to find out if there are people who want to do that as well, but the extension then goes 3 or 4 days beyond that. So yeah. Yeah, you'll leave here on the 3rd, get in the land on the 4th.
Right.
And then you go straight to the hotel on the 4th and start?
Yes. Yeah. Straight to the hotel when we get in and start the tour on the 5th, and we go from there. So yeah, back on the 13th. Yeah, Larry.
I'm just curious what's going on with Gaza. We don't hear anything about that.
Right now, there's sort of a ceasefire between Israel and the Hamas. And the whole idea was that they're going to disarm themselves, they're going to give up their weapons. Nobody knows. Everybody was so busy with Iran now that Gaza was really put away, and nothing really is happening over there. There's like a buffer zone that Israel is standing over there. Israel is willing to go back to the border as long as Hamas is going to disarm himself and not shell the villages around. We don't want another situation that they can walk through. And that's it. But right now, Gaza is not an issue. We have an issue with Lebanon that there is a ceasefire, but everybody has a different interpretation to the ceasefire, The Lebanese think ceasefire, you can send drones, and Israel believes ceasefire, you can shell some army bases of the Hezbollah. So this is a different interpretation of ceasefire. We are waiting for Trump. I'm serious, everything is connected to Iran, because if there's going to be a ceasefire and agreement in Iran, it's going to reflect on Lebanon and Gaza as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There was, just today, I don't know if you heard in the news, but there was the final, the last of what they would call the architects of the October 7th attack was taken out. Yeah. Today, a Hamas operative who was kind of a higher up, and this was a guy who, the last 3 years, or while there were still hostages, he surrounded himself with hostages so that they wouldn't try to attack him. Human shields. It's kind of a typical terrorist thing. But they took him out today or yesterday.
Yesterday.
It just happened. Yeah. Yeah, right here.
I have an innocuous question after this discussion, but do they still do the Ben Yehuda festival after Shabbat?
Yes. What the people that do it is there's something called birthright in Israel. I never heard. There's this program that let Jewish kids to come to Israel for free. Because the Jewish generation, the young generation of American Jews, feeling uncomfortable being Jews, and they're trying to. And there was an idea to bring them to the land and show them around where they belong. Their roots. Don't be embarrassed. You carry 4,000 years of history in your shoulder. And they call it birthright, and these are the kids that come on Saturday to Ben Yehuda and have all the guitar and the music and so on. And yeah, these are the ones. They are back, by the way, in Israel. They're already back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Paul, and then I'll get you ready. Oh, you'll see a lot of agriculture. Yeah,
yes.
There is, throughout the tour, a remarkable amount of agriculture. We do a lot of talking about the different, the Hula Valley and areas in the Galilee, and even down in the desert, some remarkable,
We talk a lot about agriculture. The kibbutzim are going to do all the agriculture in Israel. They don't like us anymore coming and walking through the kibbutz, but yes, we talk about what we see. There's a kibbutz in Israel that as a startup decided, we don't use, how do you call it, fertilizer?
Fertilizer.
We don't use any chemicals in Israel. For example, there's a kibbutz that instead of spraying against insects, they came up with insects that attack those insects that attack the. And sometimes we go to this kibbutz. Depends on the time. Depends if I can't remember. I think March is a shorter day. I mean, they close the sites at 4, so that limits me from expanding to that kibbutz like that. But we definitely go and talk a lot about agriculture. If you'll be there, I'll bring it up even deeper.
Yeah, that's a big part of things because the fruits and the vegetables are pretty amazing all over the place. You had a question back there? No. Is there a problem joining the tour in either Frankfurt or Tel Aviv? No. One of the options that you have, if you are for some reason already going to be headed in that direction, or if you have air miles of your own, it's not on the handout out there, but you can do what we call the land-only tour, where you pay basically for the main tour, but you get yourself there. And the only thing that we ask is that you make sure and you get yourself there before the bus leaves. You know, and we coordinate, and you can coordinate with the tour company as well. But yeah, there are many people who will use air miles or other ways to get there, and then so I'll get that price and I'll send that out in an email as well, so we know what's the land only.
And we'll pick you up, even if you come by yourself and you come from Frankfurt. We'll pick you up and bring you to the group. That's
yeah.
Good.
Y'all getting tired?
Yeah.
I could do this all night. Any other questions before we wrap up? Okay, yeah. No, we will. Right now, it's closed, but it will be opened up. So that's we will go to the Sea of Galilee. Well, you want to answer?
Yes. Well, it was closed during the war with Iran. But for the last 4 weeks, you can get to the Sea of Galilee. The sites are not completely open. I mean, the churches don't want to open until Trump is going to declare ceasefire. But yes, you can go there. I mean, no. The places along the border with Lebanon are not open. Not Dan or not Caesarea Philippi. And
that's part of, when I take people to the land, I want to take you to Dan. I want to take you to Caesarea Philippi, the Galilee, all of these places. I'm not going to take you to Israel and say, oh, I'm sorry, we can only stay at the Dead Sea. We're not going to be able to go up. No, we take you to see the whole land. And so if sites are actually closed like that, well, then we would change the date of the tour but again, right now, we're a year off. Trump's got some decisions to make. We're planning on the tour, and we're planning on going. If anything changes, we'll let you know. But that's really on me and Cheryl, and I'm talking with Roni. We'll work on this behind the scenes, and we'll update and let everybody know what's happening. But I'm not going to take you to a half tour.
By the way, I was with a group of 91 women a month ago in Israel. And they were about to fly back home, and the day before they were about to go home, the war broke out. Now, I'm with 91 women, 2 buses. All of them are pastors' wives, and they had a great time. They loved it. Wow, they loved the idea. Oh, we can go to the shelter, we can go there. And I said, you want to go home? No, we want to stay in Jerusalem. I mean, are you serious? And they said, yes. The one who gave me a hard time with the husbands. Send them home. I said, I want to, they don't want to go. Eventually it took us about a day and a half, 2 days to get him to Greece, and from Greece back to the US. Okay? So, but it won't happen again, because I know that this tour is going to be completely on a safe level. Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to pray for us and let y'all head home. Thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you.
And thank you so much, Roni, for being here, Arit, for putting up with us. So let's pray one more time. Lord Jesus, I thank you for the time we've had tonight. And what a joy, Lord, just even for me to go back through and see the sights and revisit a place that is so dear to my heart. Lord, I pray for our fellowship. There are a lot of people making decisions right now about whether or not to sign up for the tour, the timing of it in their lives. And I'm just asking, Lord, that you will open doors. We do pray for the peace of Jerusalem. We pray, Father, for the people of Israel and for the land. We pray for your will to be done. We pray for this war to end, and we pray for security and peace to return to the land. Father, we know that you are doing amazing things and you are accomplishing your will in this world. So we trust you for that. We believe you for it. And I just ask you to go before us as we plan this tour. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. God bless you. We'll be here a few more minutes. Roni and Aretha are probably tired, so I'm not going to let them stay too long. But if you want to come up, ask one or two questions, maybe we'll let that.
Hi, how
Thanks
are
for the
you?
trip. Yeah,
Good.
It's a great trip last.
Thank you so much. Come back.
Yeah, think about it.
Good. I like your shirt.